So right now we've kind of fallen into bone stuff. It's I'm not sure how we got here, but I'm trying to remember the chain of thoughts that got us into looking at bone biology, but I can't remember. But it doesn't matter, because we asked a question: Are some of these adenosine receptors important in bone biology? They seem to be important in every other kind of biology that we looked at, or other people looked at. So we asked what was going on, and I actually, now I do remember, and it came out of a set of experiments that we did with Joan Merrill, who was a colleague. We were looking, so one of the complications, again, this goes back to methotrexate. One of the complications of methotrexate therapy used to be, we don't see this much anymore, fortunately, people would develop extra rheumatoid nodules. So their arthritis was better, but they would get these horrible nodules. Sometimes they'd ulcerate, and they frequently were in the fingertips, so people couldn't hold on to a fork or a pencil or a spoon or something. So we asked what was going on, and we asked whether adenosine was in any way stimulating, I guess these things turn out to be granulomas when you look histologically. So granulomas are a peculiar form of inflammation. And the way we looked at this was we made giant cells in a dish, and we looked at whether or not adenosine or methotrexate in this case, or both, actually could promote that. And we found that they did, and not that this led to much of anything, because fortunately we're better at treating rheumatoid arthritis now, and so we don't get them so late and when they're so active that they get these nodules, but some people still get them. But when you look at a giant cell, this is a cell that's formed from a bunch of macrophages that are so stimulated that they kind of all come together and combine. And we thought, gee, this is kind of interesting. And then this sat sort of dormant until I had a fellow come, it was a Syrian fellow who came to my lab and was working in the lab, and I said, there's one other kind of cell that's made from a bunch of cells coming together in a group like this, and that's the osteoclast. Do these receptors do anything to osteoclast functions? And it turns out they did, and that's turned into a whole interesting area for us. We're now, so we stumbled into this, and now we are using adenosine receptor agonists to induce bone regeneration and bone regrowth in certain settings. We're doing this, I've managed to find some people who are really interested in three-dimensional printing, so they can print in 3 dimensions, and they print using stuff that's basically the calcium, that hard stuff in bone. So you can print with inks that will turn into not plastic, but it's bony-like substance, and we coat that with some agents that activate adenosine receptors both directly and indirectly, and we can increase bone regeneration in mice at any rate, and also it seems in some larger animals.